Good morning and welcome to our webinar looking at Microsoft Power BI under the entitlement of getting the full picture of your data with Microsoft Power BI. This is the, there we go. This is a three-part webinar series that we're doing. The first week being on Power BI, the second week being on Jet Reports, and that the next session for that webinar is going to be on June 26th. And then the third in the series is getting more reporting information with BI360, and that next session is on July 10th. So you can go to our website and register for those future events if you'd like to attend. And then I think 2 weeks after July 10th, we'll have another session of this one, which is the Power BI session. All right, our agenda for today is talking a little bit about what Power BI is. In looking at what Power BI is and considering other options for report writers, we also are going to talk a little bit about different types of reports. We're going to look at the desktop version of Power BI, then we will look at the web-based tool of Power BI, and actually just spend some time looking at some sample reports in terms of data visualization and get you some idea of what actually can, how the tool can be used. All right, my name is Marcus Haug, and I'm the Managing Director here at Boyer and Associates. Boyer and Associates is about making businesses better. We are an award-winning Microsoft solution provider helping small and mid-sized organizations, primarily in the Midwest, although we have clients on both coasts, both in California and New York, Florida, as well as up in the Seattle area. But we implement cost-effective ERP management solutions. And what we're finding is clients want to maximize more of the value that they're getting within the ERP system. So that's where reporting comes in business intelligence in particular. So that's what these three webinars are geared towards, is addressing some of those questions. Just a little bit briefly about Boyer and Associates. We were founded in 1994 by Jack Boyer. Our offices are currently in Plymouth, Minnesota. We have roughly 325 clients, 17 staff, and we are a Microsoft Gold certified partner. A little bit of our core values. They do spell team, trust. We want to be people that you can trust, that our clients can trust, that our business partners can trust. Effort, we want to give 100% effort in all the projects that we do. What we found through the years is that there's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of work in implementing ERP systems. So we want to give the best effort 100% of the time. Along with that is a big attitude improvement. We want to be positive people all the time. Again, related to ERP systems, oftentimes that's stressful. I think sometimes organizations underestimate the amount of stress that their employees go through during a transition. So we want to be people that have a positive attitude when things are stressful. We want to be positive and upbeat. And then we want to be people of meaningful relationships, which means we are about long-term relationships, not short-term relationships, which that means we want to make long-term decisions, not short-term decisions. So we do have clients that actually have been with us from the very beginning. Since 1994, using the same ERP systems that we helped them implement, we still support them. So we are about long-term, meaningful relationships. We do help you eliminate islands of information. We like to help our clients be as self-sufficient as possible. And part of that self-sufficiency is maximizing the investment they have in their systems. And reporting is one of those things that often doesn't happen during an implementation. People get very busy and you know, as you're looking at schedules, they go, well, we'll get to that, we'll get to that, we'll get to that. And sometimes it just never happens. So again, part of this series is about leveraging the investment that we've made, making people self-sufficient. And then we help people think through process improvements as they're implementing software. Products and services that we support, we currently support 4 of the 5 Dynamics products. We support Dynamics GP, Dynamics SL, Dynamics Nav, and Dynamics 365 Business Central. Services that we provide, project management, implementation support. We do custom integrations and customizations of the packages. We do management report writer training. That's the financial reporting tool that goes with GP and SL. We offer classroom training for that. And then we do report development using BI360, Jet Reports, and Power BI, which is, again, about the series that we're in here. All right, so let's talk a little bit about actually what is Power BI. So Power BI is a reporting tool, and there are 2 versions of that product, and actually there's more than that, but licensing affects sort of how it works. There's There's a desktop version, and Power BI is free to download for Microsoft. So you can go out right now, you can get the desktop version of Power BI, install it on your local machine. And what that allows you to do is do report writing, data visualization on your local machine. So there are limitations then with that free version and the desktop version in terms of report distribution. So although I could do things like export the report or send the report file to somebody else, there really isn't a mechanism in terms of a clean delivery system. That's not what that product is designed for. So the desktop version is designed for a single user or a report developer, and then you would take the desktop version and you'd publish it, let's say, to the Office 365 environment within Power BI there. So there is also a web version of the product, which is built into Office 365. And there are ways to do report development using the web version. Personally, I find there's just some limitations and it's just not as easy to use as the desktop version. So what I've done on my local system is install the desktop version, and then I publish to the Office 365 environment for report distribution. Just full disclosure, we use Power BI internally at Boyer and Associates. We do project reporting, we do some aging analysis, and we do time analysis via Power BI. So I created the reports. We use Dynamics SL on the back end, and we also use Microsoft 365 for sales. So we use the CRM product, and we've got a series of reports and dashboards that use those data sources to deliver information to our team internally. So that's what Power BI is. Again, desktop version or web version, and I hesitate on using the words reporting tool. It's really geared towards a data visualization tool, not necessarily a reporting tool. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we talk about the types of tools there are. So let's talk about the different types of reports there are. So this isn't an exhaustive list by any means, but as I was putting this presentation together, I sort of categorized the reporting requests that we often receive from our clients. And there are the reports are not all the same. They oftentimes have different functions, they have different purposes, and that will determine the way in which the report is written, but it'll also determine the tool that's best used to get the report out of whatever system you're looking at. So although oftentimes clients will have one reporting tool and they sort of try to get all types of reports out of the same tool, that may not necessarily be the most effective way. So let's talk a little bit about this. So the first type of reports that we often get is transactional based reporting questions. So our clients will want a report that's transaction based, such as show me a list of invoices that a particular customer has been issued during a particular time frame. So I want to see customer invoices for the last month. So maybe not necessarily detail of those invoices, but it's a transactional based report. They may say, show me all the debits and credits, all the entries for a particular GL account for a particular period. Okay, so again, I'm looking at more detailed type transactions. In terms of using Power BI for that type of report, I would just set some cautions on that. So Power BI, in my opinion, is not necessarily the best tool for detailed transaction analysis. Now, I'm going to show you how Power BI can be used to do that sort of work, but oftentimes when you're looking at, let's say, debits and credits for a particular account, Power BI is designed to be online on the screen. What I've seen with people is oftentimes that sort of detail account analysis, they actually want to print the thing on paper. They want to do their notes. They want to write. Maybe they're going to do an account schedule in Excel where they're going to actually create the reconciliation, for example. Power BI could be useful in terms of getting that report out, but Power BI really isn't designed to necessarily print reports. It's designed to view reports online and do analysis with it, but probably not the best tool at a transaction detail report level. Now, the data source that Power BI is using, you could use a tool like Excel and actually extract the data out using the same data source as Power BI is. And then now Excel is maybe a better tool for transaction detail reporting. But again, transaction detail reports, that's one type. The next type of report is financial reports. So, I want to run an income statement, I want to run a balance sheet. Things to consider in running financial reports is they're based on a point in time. So I would want I'm going to run my income statement or my balance sheet as of, the 31st of the month or the 30th of the month. Or I'm going to run a fiscal period, or I'm going to run, quarter one and quarter two. There are implications of running time-based reports or period-based reports that, depending on how your data is constructed, Power BI may or may not be the best tool for that. So, if you're running a 445 accounting schedule that is not calendar-based, you're going to have to create definitions around your data that would match your fiscal periods. Okay, so may or may not be the best tool to do that. The other thing is that, those of you that are accountants understand that accounts, there's different types of accounts. So in the balance sheet account, the income statement account, I can't just roll up all the transactions and assume I've got a current balance of an account. I may be able to do that. I may not be able to do that. The implications of net activity of an account for a particular period or a range of periods is different than the balance of an account. Oftentimes, your data or the reporting tool isn't natively going to understand those concepts, to understand that a balance sheet account doesn't zero at the end of the period, but an income statement account does. So you may need to create some logic within the tool or within the data set that would allow Power BI to understand those concepts. Now, some reporting tools and some data sets are conducive for it, but that potentially could be a problem. As I also said, fiscal years, fiscal periods, if you're running fiscal periods that are not calendar based, and if you've got a fiscal year that's not January to December, you're going to have to build some logic, some formulas that will identify those accounting periods. So I used to do a lot of crystal report writing in my past. Actually, I've done a lot of report writing. I've worked with a lot of tools. Crystal Reports has the same issue. So depending on what your data set looks like or what your accounting or your ERP system has in terms of table structures, sometimes those are very easy to do and sometimes they're just not. So again, just depends. Other financial reporting considerations, when you start looking at budget to actual, for example, there are really accounting concepts that a reporting tool is designed to look at transactions and sum them or do some calculation against them. When you start dealing with transactions that are of different types, let's say like budgets and actuals, where you'd want to look at different columns of data or different rows of data, you're going to have to be comfortable putting some logic around there in terms of either formulas or the way the data is structured or stored that may or may not be native in the system. Now, I've done some financial reports with Power BI, so it's not impossible to do it all. But if you think of an income statement, my rows of an income statement probably aren't alphabetical. They likely are not sorted alphabetical by account number even, right? They're going to be very different. If I've got cash and then I've got current assets, and under current assets, I may have different types of things, and I've got liquid assets versus current assets and long-term assets. I'm going to have to set up the structure of my accounts or of the data to accommodate those types of reporting scenarios. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I have made it work in Power BI. All right. Next thing to look at or to think about, I call them operational reports. So, an operational report could be, I want to see the quantity of inventory that I have on hand. I want to see, outstanding sales orders and purchase orders, or I want to see what type of or what expected receipts or what expected shipments I might have coming in. Power BI can be a great tool for that because oftentimes you're looking at an exception-based or what I would call exception-based report. So I don't want to see all expected receipts. I probably want to just see expected receipts maybe for the next couple of days, or expected shipments for the next couple of days, or orders that are ready to ship, that type of thing. Or maybe I only want to look at inventory items where the quantity on hand has reached a reorder point. Again, I'm not looking at all of my inventory, which may be thousands of rows, which would be, again, not ideal in terms of an online reporting system. But if I'm looking at exception-based reports, operational reports can be a great tool to use Power BI. All right, let's talk about dashboards. So people oftentimes, our clients oftentimes talk about dashboards. And I think it's really important to understand that there are different types of reports. And a dashboard is designed to be a single page that I pull up probably online, that's going to allow me to view, let's say, KPIs or current cash balance or month-to-date sales goals, my current balance of my AR, maybe a current ratio, maybe a liquidity ratio. It's going to give me a snapshot of some very specific numbers that I want to look at. That's very different than a transactional based report, a financial based report, or an operational based report. And Power BI is a perfect tool for dashboard reporting. If you think about using Excel and creating dashboards, and I've seen people do this, oftentimes what you do is you go and have another report writer that's actually calculating your data, and then you take that data and you put it into Excel for distribution or for printing purposes. Power BI is designed to have those KPIs or those calculations done behind the scenes and then present them on a single page or a single report for the end user. And we're going to look at that today. Ad hoc reporting is a whole nother area of reporting. And ad hoc reporting is giving a user a mechanism to mine the data for themselves. So you're not really sure maybe what the end user wants around sales reporting. So with ad hoc reporting, you're going to provide dimensions or elements of the data set that would allow users to query the data themselves. So you're going to provide, let's say, a case of sales transactions, probably a customer, maybe a ship to. If you've got territory information, salesperson information, order line item detail information, so items, quantities, pricing, all that sort of stuff. Fiscal periods, so you're going to have some time dimensions in there, maybe report date, ship date, that sort of thing. You're going to provide a set of data to the end user and then allow the end user essentially to create their own reports out of that. So very different than transactional based reports, because transactional based reports are generally line items of data. So it doesn't allow me to easily restrict or manipulate or filter or present the data in a chart. Very different than financial data. Similar to operational reports, but again, ad hoc is not predefining how my end user is going to view the data or use the data. It's just providing the data for them. And again, if you think of Excel Power pivot tables, there's also a Power View within Excel if people are using that. That type of tool allows for ad hoc reporting. Okay, there's other types of reports, but just sort of in my history, those are some broad categories. Now what you really need to do is determine what's the right tool to deliver the information or the reporting that the users want. And again, if you have needs for all 5 of these, Power BI can work. You just know that there are some that are going to be easier to create than others. But if you're looking at really these operational reports, dashboards, and ad hoc reports, Power BI is an incredible tool with some great data visualizations and great end user functions that will really help your users. Okay, so a lot of discussion on that point, but I think it's important to think about what types of tools there are and what types of reports there are prior to actually digging into using a tool. So let's get into the tool. And what I want to do first is I'm going to show the desktop version, as I said before. And I'm just going to pull up the tool generically. And I'd like to give you a little idea sort of the user interface prior to us actually pulling up some reports. So this is Power BI on the desktop. The web version is going to look similar to this in terms of the menu structure on the left and the menu structure on the top and on the right, but there's some limitations at what I'd want to do. So first, let's talk a little bit about data sources. So I'm just going to go to more here so that we can see options of data sources. So let's go to file-based data sources first. The second step of really creating a report, first is identifying the type of report you want. Next is going to be asking really where the data is. So let's look at some data options within Power BI. So I've got file-based data sources. Excel, text files, XML files. I can do some interesting things, let's say with SharePoint, or if I've got data stored in a series of flat files, I could actually use a folder system. So SharePoint is an interesting option in terms of a data source that I can use in Power BI. So if you've implemented it and are trying to get some data out, that's one option. In terms of databases, I've got a lot of options, and let's think through some of these. So I've got SQL Server as my first option. I can use Access as a data source. I can use SQL Server Analytics Services. So analytics services are a component of Microsoft SQL Server, and what these are data cubes. And one of the reports I'm going to show you a little bit later is actually using an OLAP server that's in my SQL Server that's got sales data in it. So SQL Server, if you think of, it's not exactly flat files, but if you think of a table structure in a traditional sense, where I've got a customer table and I've got invoicing header table and I've got a line item table, and I link those three together, that's your SQL Server data. Your analytics services are going to be predefined OLAP cubes, so online analytical processing cubes. And the power behind the cube is these data intersections and calculations are all pre-calculated. So if I've got a large data set, using analytic services and pre-processing my data is going to make my performance so much better than going directly against the SQL Server database. But again, got lots of options. I can go against Oracle, DB2, Informix, MySQL, Sybase, and then I've got some built-in connectors for SAP, got some built-in connectors for Amazon as well as Google. So Google's an interesting one, would allow me to do pulling Google Analytics data into Power BI. Those are the big ones that I see. In terms of linking with Azure, so Azure is the hosted environment within Microsoft, so I can connect to an Azure SQL database. I can connect to an Azure SQL data warehouse. So these are really key if you've implemented Azure in your environment, that I can connect directly to those using Power BI. And then I've got other Azure data sources, but those are your primary. These are the big ones that we see. Other online services. And what we're seeing is these online services continue to increase. So I can connect to a Power BI service. So what that would be is piggybacking one report against another report. Again, SharePoint we saw. I can connect to Exchange, Dynamics 365. So the Dynamics 365, I've got built-in components for the sales product, both for the enterprise and the business operations business central product built into Power BI. I can connect to a local nav database. The Business Central we looked at. The Common Data Service, so this is in beta, and this is really the common data model that Microsoft's working on within the Dynamics family of products. So that's the direction Microsoft is going with all the Dynamics products that will be in the Common Data Service, the Common Data Model, that is connectable today. Other Azure components, Salesforce, we talked about Google Analytics, trying to think of ones. Facebook is an interesting one. And then you've got these other components within Power BI. And again, these services continue to increase. So in terms of other data sources, I've got a lot of them available to me, and then some really obscure ones, I think, in here. But you can see that Microsoft continues to build this out. OData is another great one if you're looking at an online service. So, all right, in terms of data connections, those are my options. What I've got then is three main components, and I've got a visualization component and I've got a fields component. So as I connect to a data source, this fields on the far right section is going to expand, and it's going to be in a table column format for me. Within the fields, I do have the ability under the modeling tab, depending on what type of data source I'm connecting to create new tables, to create new measures, to create new calculations. This is where also I could control potentially, again, depending on the data source, what data types and how it's going to be presented to the end user. All right. The next section is visualizations, and this is really key for Power BI. So this tells me what type of visualization am I going to be using for my data. So again, we've got lots of chart options, pie charts. We've got some interesting thing on tree maps, maps. So this is again a link to a mapping product. If I've got addresses, city, state, zip, that sort of thing. A lot of different visualization options. You'll notice that most of these visualizations are visual in nature. Okay, so if I look at this, the top 4 lines are really chart-based type reports. This is where Power BI is so powerful because I've got so many different options, and a lot of them are very similar to Excel charts. I have a lot of ways to present my data that's useful to users. These bottom sections, this bottom row, this is where I could actually do tables or a matrix presentation. So if you think about all the options that we talked about, types of reports in the prior section, most people think in terms of tables or matrix for their data, which again can be useful. But as we move forward in terms of reporting and how people view reports, we're really a visual culture now. Making use of those top 4 rows of visualizations might be better for your end users in seeing and understanding their data than a traditional matrix or table type report. Okay, just some things to consider. All right, if the report visualization isn't there that I want, or I want some other ones, I do have the ability to go out to this marketplace. And I found some very interesting things in the marketplace. Oops, it loaded on my other screen. All right, so this marketplace is maintained by Microsoft, and there are free visualizations, and there's also ones that you could pay to download. But Microsoft has developed some of these, and then other business partners have developed them and published them. So if I'm looking for something really interesting in terms of visualization, I can come out here, download it, adds it into my report, and I can distribute those with my report. So if there's KPI things that you want to look at, or different types of gauges, different filters, they're all available here in the marketplace. So, and again, this marketplace continues to increase. So every once in a while, I just go out here and look at some new ones, and there's some really interesting ones. I'm going to show you a couple actually that I've used in terms of slicers that I've imported into my reports. Okay, so okay, then this main section here is actually the report. So I have the ability to do multiple pages, so I can add as many as I want across the report. So as I add my data visualization and present my data on a page, I can rename the page. This has a sort of an Excel feel to it, if you will, in terms of the tabs and the tab metaphor within the report. All right, so let's close that, and then let's actually pull up a report that I created. So this is just a quick report I put together. In terms of full disclosure, in terms of what I'm looking at, this is actually a Jet Enterprise sales cube. So this is using the Microsoft SQL Server OLAP as my data source. And the data elements are based on Dynamics Nav, so one of the Dynamics products. Okay, so you can see my field section down here are cubes, so they appear like tables, although because this is an OLAP data source, this is actually cubes or dimensions of data. So if I expand item, for example, then I have my components under my item table. So I've got item name, categories, numbers, values, product groups, etc. So you see how my data is constructed. I can search here. All of my links in terms of how my data is linked together, because I'm using an OLAP data source, are all predefined, and I can't edit those here. If I was using straight table, I would have an option over here on the left, or I'd have an edit query option where I could actually maintain how my data sources are linked together. But again, I'm using OLAP, it's predefined, so I don't have to figure that stuff out. Just a little note on OLAP services. I really like using OLAP services, and if you want users to do ad hoc reporting, I think OLAP is the way to go, because you as the person that's designed the OLAP cube, or whoever's designed them, has created those links for the end user. They can't break them, and they can't create things that don't exist. So oftentimes I've seen when people try to create reports, they don't really understand their data very well, and they link things that shouldn't be linked together. Or if it's a multi-level key, they don't get all the levels correct, and you can get data that's just not right. So it's really important that we've got the right data by linking the things together. OLAP allows us to make sure it's consistent. So there's the field section. In terms of the data visualization, what I did is I just took a couple ways I can do that. I can either drag the fields onto the report and it will assume a data visualization, or I can click on the visualization and I can just make changes to it. So you see how quick I can change between a bar chart, a column chart, a stack chart versus side by side, etc. By just clicking on them, I can make changes. This first tab, this is the Fields tab. So depending on the visualization, this is where I control the axis, the legends, colors, if I've got filters. A couple things on filters. I can have page level filters. So this is a page. So this would be filtering data for this page. I can have drill through filters, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and then I can have report level filters. So if I want every page in this report to be filtered, let's say based on a year, like I have this, I would set up a report level filter, not necessarily a page level filter, and then all of them would be filtered. But in this case, I just did a page level filter. So all these data visualizations can be resized by clicking and dragging. The second tab allows me to modify how the visualization is presented to the end user. So do I want legends? Do I want access colors and labels? And do I want to change the plot area and change the title and all that sort of stuff? So just like Excel, I've got full control over what my data visualization works. I've got the same options here. So I can really make these data visualizations look however I'd want to look. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of these elements. So you'll notice that this year-to-date sales would be more like a KPI component. So this data visualization is just a card view. And the card view in this case, I'm defining as a sum of a number. Okay, so that's one way to present data. This year, 2019, what I did here is I just pulled a single field on. So although this is a table view, it's presenting a single data element. So it allows me to present maybe some parameters to the end user. Then I've got some charts here. I kind of like this one. Interesting little study on pie charts. There's been some studies done on pie charts saying that pie charts are really a poor way to present, let's say a present a percent of type calculation that our brains get confused with a pie chart, and they actually say that this type of a chart, this tree map, is a better option to present a percentage of, because it's a better representation of it. So nice option here. The other things that I like about Power BI is if I hover over the fields, I have the ability to look up values. So I can see what is the product sales, what's the product name, et cetera. Same thing with the pie charts. All right. Next thing to talk about with Power BI is how these reports are interactive. So I've linked together all of the visualizations on this page, and by clicking elements within a chart, I can then update, or it's sort of filtering, but it's a visualization filter of the data that I'm looking at. So if I want to look at awards and recognitions, and you'll notice that my product group, emblems and pins, is primarily that group, but then there's trophy group over here is also part of that category. And then my cost and profit and sales also is updating based on the product category that I'm displaying. The nice thing about this is these reports aren't static, in the sense that if the users want more information, I can actually set up this so that they can, and this isn't exactly ad hoc, but they can filter and then change how the data is presented to them. All right, next thing, let's look at item sales. So I did a more of a traditional transactional based report. This is summarizing, I think this is sales dollars by year. So I'm looking at 2017, 18, 19, and yeah, there's 3 years. What I did is I created two data slicers here. So I've got item categories and I've got product group. Now, this is the same data source with my report. So this is one way to present the data. And then I created this item sales tab, which is another way to present this data. And this is allowing me now to slice and dice the data a little different. And again, looking at a transaction-based report. So these are interactive components. So if I want to look at, again, awards and recognitions, you'll notice that my product group now filters, as well as my item sales report filtering. So as an end user, I can now, and I can select multiples of these. So if I wanted to look at awards and recognition, caps, and electronics, I can have the visualizations update based on the selection that I'm making within the account categories. So if you think about the power here, so I'm not setting a filter and rerunning the report. That's oftentimes what we have to do. This is all pre-calculated, and it's allowing me to filter the data and only look at the components that I want within the list. All right, so these are data visualizations. I do point out that this product item category, these two visualizations here, these two are using a marketplace slicer component that I downloaded. Interesting thing about this little slicer that I downloaded is you can create images or have images displayed instead of names. So if I've got pictures of things versus words that I want to display. Again, visually, it's a very powerful visualization. I kind of like that one. All right, and then customer sales is another way of looking at this. And I'm presenting two transaction-based reports, and I can look at them by salesperson. So if I look at Linda, for example, I'm going to see Linda's customer sales, and then what did she, and then what items did those customers buy, and I can scroll through these. All right. A couple other things that I can do here is I do have the ability to do a drill through reporting. So I don't have any reports set up, but if I wanted to, I can actually right click. If I had this report set up as a drill through option, I could click on it and it would open up another tab and pass the filter through. So there are ways to do that type of report, that type of visualization if you are interested in doing that. Okay, so let's look at the online version now. So this is the desktop version. Again, it's fully operational in terms of running reports, viewing reports, that sort of thing. It's just when I want to distribute the report, I'm probably going to want to go into the Office 365 Power BI component. So this is web-based. This is our system internally at Boyer. And I've created some sample reports. And I like to walk through this a little bit to talk about how the online version is constructed. And there's some elements to think about. So actually, let's start at the right side, which is data sets. So the data set defines where my data is. So when we looked at creating a report, I could create Power BI as a data source. What that's doing is it's when I would create a data set, publish it to the web, I can then use that data set in multiple reports. So that's how it would work. Here's my data set information. From here, I can actually analyze. I can create a report if I wanted to. And again, I told you could create reports online. I can refresh the data set. Depending on how my data source is set up, I could also schedule a refresh. So if I want to refresh it now or schedule it, I could do that. There's my schedule refresh. View related is going to show me other components. And then I've got some other options. One thing I note in this data set option is we have the ability to actually create security within my data set connected to my users. So if I want to create a report set, let's take that salesperson example, and I only want the salespeople to see their own transactions, I can create a security model within the desktop version. And when I publish it over here to the Power BI web-based, it's going to inherit those security permissions. So then when the end users run the report, they're only going to get their data or only going to be able to view their data, even though the data set contains everything. All right, next thing, so data sets is where my data is. Next thing is a workbook. A workbook really just allows me to put a set of data in Excel and have it on the web. I haven't done a whole lot with this. I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but I don't find it super effective, although some people think it's great. I really find the power of Power BI in the reporting and the dashboard component. So within the reporting component, let's look at this customer profitability sample. So what this is this is a report that we created, and we created it in the desktop version of Power BI, and then we published it to the web. And you'll notice my interaction here, I do have some file options, so I can save it, I can print it, I can publish it as an embedded component if I want to. I can view the data, so again, some viewing options. I do have the ability to edit the report. Again, some people like to edit in the online version. Personally, I like the desktop version for editing. I can refresh the report. Now, what the report refresh does is it refreshes the report to the current version of the data set. It's not refreshing the data set. So I like to just point that out. Your users may or may not have the ability to refresh the data set. All right, pinned to live, we'll talk about that later. Usage matrix. I love this one. So when we published Power BI reports internally, I turned on usage matrix, and what that allows you to do is actually see, is anybody actually looking at these reports? So oftentimes when I did report writing, you spend hours and hours and hours making a big investment in creating reports, and then what you find out is no one uses them. Or the other thing that I like to do is when people ask me for a report, you say, well, there's a data set out there and there's a report out there that would actually provide you the information, and then I can see that you've never run it. So pointing people to where the data is, but I can also monitor that to see, are they using it? It would also then help you determine, is your reporting strategy actually effective? So making a big investment, you know what people are using, what they're not using, maybe where you need to do additional development. Okay, I think that's it. You do have the ability to expose filters or delete filters or not expose filters when you deploy a report. So if you want users to be able to modify page level filters and that sort of thing, you can expose those or hide those. All right, so then it's just, I've got my data visualization here, and you'll notice that I've got the same ability to click on or restrict my view of my data online. And this is extremely powerful for end users when they can start analyzing their data. So this is some examples of again, a slicer. This is a checkbox slicer versus just the tile slicer. But we've got maps, we've got bar charts with lines. If I look at my industry margin analysis, again, I've got some slicers on the right. I've got some bubble charts, some specific calculations available to me. What you'll notice is Power BI is really good at a data visualization as a data visualization tool. So when we think about the types of reports we looked at, again, transactional based reporting can work. Not super effective, I don't think. Financial reports can work, but you're going to have to build out some things. Where it's super powerful is the idea of dashboarding reports and operational reports, or almost ad hoc reports. So in this tool, I'm not necessarily allowing users to sort of create their own data visualizations. But in terms of an ad hoc report, I do have the ability to restrict based on elements of data. If I did add more filters to a report, I'm getting much closer to an ad hoc reporting tool by allowing users to change their filters as well. All right, this executive scorecard, I point out this. So Power BI, because it's in Office 365, has the ability to be deployed on my phone, a tablet, or a PC, or actually I shouldn't say a PC, through a browser on my computer, so Mac or PC. What I can do then is I can also create, let's say, this executive dashboard, and I can format a report to be conducive on the phone. When I publish this report, and if I'm on my phone, this executive scorecard is the report that's going to be first presented to me as the end user. So I formatted the data and I formatted the visualizations to be more effective on the phone. If you think about this team scorecard, if I'm on my phone and I pull this report up, not real effective in terms of viewing it, but creating one that's specific to the phone, same set of data. So if I'm on my phone, I'm looking at the same data, the same information as I would be on the team scorecard, but it's going to be presented in such a way that it's much easier for my end users to see and to work with. Just to note, all the data visualizations are still available, even on my phone or other deployment options. All right, let's look at this retail spend. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back up one. So that's the report. Now, what I can do then is I can take elements of a report and create a dashboard. Okay, so data set, I create reports from my data sets, and then I can take my reports and I can create dashboards. And what I do is on my report, I'm going to right click and I'm going to send it to the dashboard. And that's going to create this, in this case, this customer profitability. So it's essentially the same set of data that I'm looking at, but it's in what they call a dashboard format, which is really the ideal delivery mechanism. And you notice I don't have a tab here. I just have a dashboard, single report. What I then can do is if I want to look more at gross margin, for example, I click on gross margin. Now I go into the report that's behind it, and this one happens to be set up as a Q&A report. This would allow my end user to do some ad hoc reporting. So, you know, it says gross margin by business unit, scenario as a clustered column. I now can start changing this visualization as an end user. Same set of data, but I can change how it's being presented to me. So that's, again, a Q&A option within a chart. This one I think goes into Excel Online. So this is another way to present. Again, that was the workbook concept. I can allow my users now to get into Excel and view the data with Power BI. So if you're looking for a way to deliver Excel data online, this is a way to do it. It's, again, making use of the Office 365 component, but it's there. If you think about just gross margin in terms of a data set, what you notice is this one now drills into the report that's behind it. So this is the report we were looking at a little while ago with the three reports available to me. Here's the key here. I started with a gross margin number presented to the user on a dashboard. And if they wanted more information, I've linked a series of reports to that number. So if you think about users where they're, again, a KPI or a dashboard concept where I want to know, well, what's my current gross margin running? Where is my current revenue running? How many customers do we have right now? I can present that single number to users and it's live, but yet I'm giving them other mechanisms within an online tool to either mine the data further or see details about the data. Again, in case of gross margin, I could look at analysis then by customer or by product line, that sort of thing. If I just want to see the dashboard to know we're at 42.5%, that's awesome. Good or bad, maybe I don't need more information. This also then allows me to present a tremendous amount of information to my end users very quickly in a very streamlined way. Okay, so again, that is a dashboard. So data sets connect to my data. I create reports from that, and then my reports I can create dashboards, and then think through the navigation of my data or the presentation of the data via dashboard out to my end users. And the idea behind here is I've got tremendous amount of data at my fingertips. So one of my first jobs when I graduated from college many years ago was I created a financial reporting package. And every month, it would probably take me 4 or 5 days to calculate. We did these exact same things. We'd calculate gross margin stuff. We'd calculate revenue numbers. We'd look at revenue by customer, by product type, and we'd look at shipping analysis. And we had a whole bunch of quality assurance reporting that we did. Take me days to put this report together. It would literally take me a full day to photocopy this thing. And it was probably 60, 70 pages in length. And I would distribute it to our engineers and to our sales team and all sorts of stuff. Well, the limitations of that report is, first, it's at least a week old by the time they get it, and sometimes it's more than a month old, right? Stuff that happened beginning of the month, we're more than a month past when they finally get reports on it. The other thing that I found is there was so much data that it was just overwhelming to users. So I would get questions continually about some very specific product information, and then I would dig through the report and go, well, it's on page 45, and they go, oh yeah, okay. The reality was that it wasn't effective and it wasn't useful for them. When I think about using dashboards in particular, this is where I can present a tremendous amount of data to my users, but it's going to be presented in such a way that they can actually get to the data, find the data, and use the data. So if I can train my users to go, well, if you click on that gross margin stuff now, I can analyze my gross margin by industry, by customer, by month, by salesperson, and they can now get to all the data. I probably couldn't have come up with all the possible scenarios that they would want to run and include them in my reporting package each month. I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm not going to run separate reports for each salesperson to roll up by territory. They can get all that information using Power BI, again, at their desktop in the browser. So this is where Power BI really is a super effective tool in delivering a tremendous amount of data to my end users. Okay. So that gives you some idea of some visualizations, lots of options out there. The one Microsoft shows all the time is this retail sample. I think this is the one they put in all their marketing literature. So number of stores and years and sales, and looking at sales by charts and across the globe and by square footage in the stores. There's just a lot of things that you can do here. All right, so we got about 10 minutes left. I am open to questions, so if you want to use the interactive questions things, I'd be happy to answer questions. I've got a few bullet points in conclusion, but otherwise I'm just available here for this last section for questions. So key is to really identify what type of reports do you want. Are people looking at transaction reports? Are they looking at dashboards? Are they looking at financial reports? What types of reports are you looking at? That's the first question you want to ask. Next question really to ask is, how do you want to present the data? Do you want it printed? Do you want it online? Do you want it within the ERP system? How are you going to get the data to the end users? I think online with Power BI is an awesome way to deliver data to end users. Third, where does the data reside? Is this a data source that I have access to? Am I going to create OLAPs? Am I going to create a data warehouse? All sorts of things in terms of how and where is that data going to come from? All right, then identifying the tool. based on the types of reports I want, where my data is located, I'm going to have to think about what type of tool do I want to use. Is Power BI the tool I want? Do I want to look at BI360? Do I want to look at Jet Reports? Do I want to look at Excel as a data source? Do I want to go and use OLAP within SQL Server and then have that connected to Excel? Lots of implications for that, but those are good discussions and really thinking through, why am I picking the tool that I want? Then you got to design the report. I think this is oftentimes the step people forget. People identify their data source and then they start drawing reports in Power BI, and you could waste a lot of time doing that. You really need to take the step of designing the report. So where's the data? How am I going to present it? Working through that on paper or in Excel or something like that to really think through how's this all going to work, and then write the report. If you think about these examples that I work through on this workbook, this customer profitability, for example, you really need to think about what data elements, what reporting elements do I want on a dashboard, and then when I click on gross margin, what am I actually going to show the end user? Is this a team scorecard? Is it an industry example? Again, thinking through all those things is really going to make your reporting system effective for your organization. All right. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to punch them in. All right, I don't see any. So I draw your attention just to the 2 future webinars that we've got. Let me put those up. All right, so I point you to June 26th and July 10th. Again, you can register for those off of our website. And we're going to continue our conversation around business intelligence, looking at 2 reporting tools. Now, that's different than Power BI. Jet Reports is going to be much more of a transaction-based reporting tool, awesome reporting tool for transaction-based things. And then BI360 is an interesting tool in the sense that it creates both a data warehouse with the ability to identify KPIs and do budgeting. So it's a write back capability, but it also allows you to do reporting in Excel. So Jet Reports is an Excel-based tool. So is BI360. So it's going to allow you to create reports, data visualizations within Excel. So instead of, let's say, using a web-based tool like Power BI, both Jet BI360 can be used web-based, but it's going to be built in Excel. So if you've got users that are very comfortable with Excel, these are 2 great tools to keep people really in their comfort zone and allow them to get the data that they need. All right. So last call for questions. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I want to thank you for attending today, and look forward to seeing you, actually being with you in June and July for the next 2 in our series.